Easy Wealth Podcast, where learning about money feels easy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Easy Wealth Podcast, where we talk about money and wealth in a simple way. I'm Emma, and here with me as always is Jack.
Okay, I have to get something off my chest before we start. I had a family dinner last Sunday. Someone asks my uncle what he's been up to lately, and he goes, sign, still working. Just like that, completely flat. He is 66 years old.
Still working at 66?
Yes, still working. And of course, not because he loves it. I could see it in his face. He looked like someone who had been running a race for so long, he forgot there was supposed to be a finish line.
Oh, that image is painfully accurate.
And the worst part? Everyone at the table just nodded, like that was normal, like that was fine.
Nobody questioned it?
Nobody. And I sat there thinking, is that just what life is? You run until you can't anymore?
I want to push back on that slightly, because I think that's just what happens is actually a choice, just one that nobody examined.
That feels a bit harsh.
Maybe, but here's the thing. The people who end up there usually didn't plan to, not because they were lazy, because nobody showed them there was a different road.
So there is a different road?
Jack, have you heard about Coast Fire?
No, but before we get into this concept, can I just say something out loud? Because I think most people feel this but never say it.
Go.
The traditional retirement plan feels broken. Like, work hard for 40 years, save what you can, retire at 65, enjoy your golden years. That's what everyone was told. But by 65, your knees hurt, you've missed things, and somehow the golden years don't feel very golden.
You spent the gold getting there.
Exactly, that line. Can I put that on a frame?
Be my guest.
You spent the gold getting there. Because that's what it feels like. The best years, the energy, the curiosity, the body that could actually do things, all of that went to the office.
And what Coast Fire asks is, what if you didn't have to do it that way?
Okay, tell me everything.
Right. Coast Fire is part of the broader FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. The original version is extreme. Save 50, 60, sometimes 70% of your income. Build a massive portfolio. Stop working completely in your 30s or 40s.
I've heard of this, and every time I hear it I think, amazing, good for those people, absolutely nothing to do with my actual life.
Which is the correct reaction for most people. Traditional FIRE requires a very high income or sacrifices most people genuinely aren't willing to make, or both.
So Coast Fire is the version for humans.
Coast Fire takes the same engine, compound interest over a long runway, and asks a different question. Not how do I save enough to retire tomorrow, but how do I save enough today so that time finishes the job for me? You save hard for a focused period, maybe 5 years, maybe 10, depending on where you're starting from. You hit a specific number, and then you stop saving for retirement.
You stop?
You stop adding to your retirement investments. Because the money that's already in there, given enough time and a reasonable return, will compound on its own to reach your retirement goal, without you touching it again.
That sounds like a magic trick.
It's not magic, it's a snowball. We talked about this in episode 6, remember?
The hill. The longer the hill, the bigger the snowball gets.
Exactly. Coast Fire is, you build a snowball big enough at the top of a very long hill, and then you let go. It keeps rolling. You don't have to push.
And that's the coast. You're just riding the slope.
Beautifully said. Yes, your money is still moving. You just don't have to be the one driving it anymore.
So you still work.
Yes, still work, still earn. But that income now only needs to cover your life today. Rent, food, bills. The retirement question? Already answered. Already handled.
So you could take a job that pays less but makes you actually happy to show up.
Yes.
You could go part-time.
Yes, because the thing that chains most people to jobs they hate is, I can't afford to leave. Coast Fire removes that chain. The freedom to say no. Episode 5.
It always comes back to that.
It always comes back to that. Okay, let's talk about numbers. We need to understand where the numbers come from. Here's the logic. 3 things determine your coast number. First, your retirement goal, meaning how much do you want to have saved by the time you retire? Let's use $1 million as an example.
Okay, $1 million. Sounds like a lot. Keep going.
Second, your assumed annual return. A broad index fund tracking the stock market has historically returned around 7% per year on average, after adjusting for inflation. That's the number most long-term financial planning uses as a baseline.
So, assuming your money grows by roughly 7% a year, on average.
Yes, some years more, some years less, some years negative, but across 30 or 40 years, historically, around 7%.
Okay, and the third thing?
Time. How many years does your money have to grow before you need it? And this is where it gets interesting. Because if you're 25 and you want to retire at 65, your money has 40 years to compound.
Wow, 40 years is a very long hill.
Yes, very long. So here's the actual maths. To grow into $1 million in 40 years at 7% per year, you need to start with around $67,000.
Cool, $67,000 becomes $1 million?
Yes, in 40 years at 7% compounding annually. That's not magic. It's just the formula running forward. $67,000 grows to roughly $72,000 in year 1. That $72,000 grows a bit more in year 2. The base keeps getting bigger, so each year's growth is bigger too.
Like the snowball picking up more snow because it's already larger.
Exactly. We have mentioned it in episode 6. If you're 30 instead of 25, you now have 35 years instead of 40. Same goal, same return rate, but a shorter hill.
So the snowball needs to be bigger at the start to make up for it.
Right. At 30, your coast number rises to around $94,000.
So waiting just 5 years costs an extra $27,000 that you now have to save yourself. That's expensive.
$27,000 extra for 5 years of waiting. And at 35, 30 years to grow, your coast number is around $131,000.
So from 25 to 35, 10 years of waiting costs an extra $64,000.
And at 40, around $184,000.
Whoa, that's nearly 3 times the 25-year-old's number for the exact same retirement.
Same destination, just a much shorter runway. The snowball has to be enormous to compensate for the time that's gone.
Very true. Now, the cost of waiting is a real, calculable number.
It always has been. Most people just never see it written down.
Yes. You're not just losing time, you're paying for time. In extra money you now have to save yourself.
That's exactly it.
And I came up with that line myself, which I'm quietly proud of.
As you should be. And one more thing, these numbers use 7% as the assumed return. If you want to be more conservative, and I'd recommend using 5% or 6%, your coast number will be a bit higher, but your cushion will be thicker. Nobody knows what the next 30 years will look like.
So if someone wants to find their own coast number, what do they do?
Search Coast Fire Calculator online. Free tools everywhere. You put in your age, your retirement spending target, your assumed return rate, and it gives you your number in about 2 minutes.
Because everyone's number is different. It depends on the retirement you actually want.
That's true. Your lifestyle determines your target. Your target determines your coast number, which is why keeping your spending in check matters more than most people realize.
Okay, I just thought, great concept, not for me, $67,000 at 25. Do you know what I had at 25?
What did you have at 25?
Strong opinions, questionable furniture, and a bank account that regularly sent me passive-aggressive notifications.
Same. And most people did.
So for someone genuinely starting from zero, how is this actually reachable?
Here's the reframe. You are not being asked to save $67,000 and live on it. You're being asked to save $67,000 once and then never worry about retirement again. That is a completely different challenge.
One sprint, not a 40-year shuffle.
Exactly. And here's what surprised me when I actually ran the numbers. The traditional way, save 10% of your income every year for 40 years. You actually end up contributing more money in total. You just spread it out so thinly it never feels like sacrifice.
But it never stops costing you, every year, in stress.
Coastfire says, pay the price once, early, when time is working hardest for you. Then get your life back.
That is true, but, I am not a naturally disciplined person. A focused saving sprint sounds great in this moment, but next month, when I'm tired and something is on sale?
Jack, I know that feeling. So the system matters more than the motivation. We've said this from episode 1. Willpower is unreliable, but automation doesn't have bad days. You set up the transfer once, in a calm, clear-headed moment, and it runs whether you feel like it or not.
The money moves before you can talk yourself out of it.
And everything we've built across these episodes, the two-card system, the separate accounts, the automatic investments, all of that infrastructure has been pointing at this, your Coast number, a real target instead of a vague cloud of, I should probably be saving more.
So the previous episodes were the training, and this is the race.
That's a really good way to put it.
I have my moments. The sooner you plan for retirement, the more you can enjoy the process of spending money. If you feel guilty every time you buy something, even reasonable expenses start to feel wrong.
And that's where Coastfire comes in to solve the retirement problem. Once that number is hit, once your snowball is rolling on its own, every dollar you earn after that is genuinely yours. No guilt, no, should I really be spending this?
Spending because you chose it.
Yes, and that shift, from spending with guilt to spending with clarity, that changes the whole quality of your life, not just your finances. Coastfire is a smarter design. You get your money to the point where compound interest takes over, and then you step aside. Let the maths do its job. You go live.
The maths doesn't need a babysitter anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, how about market crash? I hit my Coast number at 35, I stop contributing, and then the market drops 40% the following year. What happens to my solved retirement?
That's the right question. Honestly, a serious prolonged downturn could push your timeline back. The maths assumes average long-term returns, but sometimes average returns don't arrive on schedule.
So what do you do about that?
You may build in a buffer from the start. When you calculate your Coast number, use a more conservative return rate, 5% or 6% rather than 7%. Your target gets a bit higher, but your cushion gets much thicker.
Deliberately setting the bar higher to protect yourself.
Also, Coastfire isn't a switch you flip once and can never touch again. If a crash happens right after you hit your number, you can temporarily resume small contributions. The plan is flexible. And remember, your emergency fund never goes away. At least 6 months of expenses, not invested, not in the market, just sitting there. So that when something goes wrong, you're not making panicked decisions with retirement money.
Yes, we talked about it in episode 1. Still true. Patient money survives crashes. Panicked money doesn't.
Episode 13, Risk and Emotional Control. This is exactly that in action. Okay, 3 practical steps. Because if we end without something concrete, Jack will do nothing.
That is devastatingly accurate.
Step 1, find your Coast number. Search Coastfire Calculator online. Put in your numbers. Once you have the number, it stops being abstract. It becomes a mission.
Because save more is not a mission, but reach $94,000 by 30, that's something your brain can actually lock onto.
Step 2, start investing now. Every year you wait raises your Coast number. Time is the engine. Don't leave it idling.
Episodes 6 and 8 mentioned where to invest. Board index funds. Simple, low cost, long term. Boring is beautiful.
Beautifully said. Step 3. Protect the gap. The difference between what you earn and what you spend, that's the fuel that gets you to your coast number. Every time income grows, 50-50 rule from episode 3. Half to your future, half to enjoy now. Because lifestyle inflation quietly pushes your coast number further away without you noticing.
Your spending determines your retirement targets. Your retirement target determines your coast number. If spending creeps up, the whole thing slides further out of reach.
Nice. That one catches people. A pay rise comes in, the lifestyle upgrades, and somehow retirement still feels just as far away.
That's a wrap on today's episode. And if this episode gave you a filter you didn't have before, share it with someone who needs it. Give this episode a like and subscribe to the Easy Wealth podcast. It really helps us keep making these conversations for you.
Take care of your finances and take care of yourselves. See you next week. Bye.